Hi everyone, I'm going to go over the PowerPoint for the observation assignment. We're going to learn about what an observation is, how to do an observation, and the importance of an observation. Let's get started. What is an observation? An observation is the procedure of observing something or someone. This could be anything. You could be watching someone make dinner. You could be observing the procedures for washing hands. You could be watching a child ride a bike. Why do you need observational skills? Well, observational skills are important for all of us. It's important for us to be able to observe and recall accurate information of what we've seen and heard. Teachers especially need this when working with children. Children don't always tell us what they want or need in the way of skill building, so we need those good observational skills so we can provide curriculum and activities to help them build skills. You also need observational skills in health fields like an EMT or a nurse or a doctor. You need to be able to look at your patients, some of whom are nonverbal, and see if you can eliminate some of the problems they may or may not be having. Observations can be objective or subjective. We are going to be doing an objective observation. Objective observations are based only on fact, only what you see and hear, not what you think you know, not what you think the child is doing, but only what you see or hear. There are no assumptions offered, and you are not attributing emotions, you're not interpreting feelings, and you're not guessing at why the child is doing what they're doing. Subjective observations have their place, but this is not what we are doing currently. When you do a subjective observation, you're offering an interpretation of what you're seeing and why it is happening. When doing observations, you focus on just what you're observing, and in this case, it will be a child. You're going to avoid any types of assumptions, opinions, or interpreting the child's behavior or why they're doing something. You're going to make sure that while you're observing that you record everything in detail, language, behaviors, what you're seeing, what you're hearing. You only want to record what you see and hear, don't include anything else, and you want to accurately provide an overview of what happened in the order it happened. For example, if you were observing a child walking across a classroom, you would start with where the child started. Let's say the child started in the block area. Then you would observe and write down how the child walked across the classroom, in what they passed, and where they eventually ended up. You're not going to interfere with any activities for this observation because we're not going to be observing children at a child development center. Unfortunately, with COVID-19, we will be using videos for this assignment. You want to avoid biases and stereotypes, biases in attitude towards people of different cultural, racial, religious, or social class backgrounds. Stereotypes are an attitude that involves your personal feelings and prejudices that may affect your ability to be objective. Observations need to be free of bias and negative labeling. What you record must be honest, accurate, and objective. You should only state the facts of what you're seeing and hearing. Be aware of your own biases and make sure your language and attitudes are not affected by them. We're going to practice. I'm going to have you read, or I'm going to read a slide, and we're going to decide if the statement is objective or subjective. Let's go. The first statement, he went to the window because he wanted to see his mom. Second statement, he walked to the window. Which one do you think is objective? The second statement is objective. The first statement implies that the observer knows why the child went to the window. The observer cannot see inside the child's head, and unless the child said, I'm going to the window to see my mommy, but he didn't, he just walked across to the window. So you want to avoid assuming why you know a child is doing something unless you hear them verbally state why they're doing something. Again, what is the objective statement? She persisted in building a block tower for 4 minutes without asking for help. She stubbornly did not ask for help while building her block tower. The first statement is objective. The second one assigns a personality assumption about the child that she is stubborn. You want to avoid those descriptive words when you're doing your observations. Now you try. Which is the objective statement? She rudely pushed herself to be first in line. She walked to the head of the line. Ask yourself, which statement is objective? Which one's subjective? Why? Let's practice more in-depth observations. Which is the subjective observation and which is the objective observation? Child 1. When doing observations, we don't use children's names. Child 1 was riding a bicycle and wanted to pass 2 children. "Move out of my way," he shouted rudely. Child 2 and 3 moved quickly out of his way, looking scared. Child 1 went by without saying, "Excuse me." Second, Child 1 was riding a bike. When he rode up to a group of 2 children, he said, "Move out of my way." The 2 children moved out of the way, and Child 1 proceeded on his bicycle. Which one? The second one is objective. The second observation only includes what was seen and heard, nothing else. The first statement assumed that the child was rude on the bike and that the other 2 children were scared. Let's try again. Objective or subjective? Child A is a good child and shares toys with other children. This next one, Child A is playing with blocks. When 2 other children come over and ask to play, Child A says, "Sure," and explains what he or she is building. The second one is objective. The second observation only records what was seen and heard, no interpretation. The first observation uses a descriptive language to describe what was observed. You want to avoid those descriptive words. Now you try on your own. Child 1 went to the bike area. No bikes were available. Child 1 lay down on the ground and cried. The next one, Child 1 wanted to ride a bike and threw a temper tantrum when there were no bikes available. Ask yourself which statement is objective, which one is subjective, and why. These are the types of words you want to use when writing your objective summaries and your observations. Speak, tells, says, asks, jumps, hugs, counts, stands, skip, pushes. These words tell what someone is doing. These are words you want to avoid. Sad, mad, happy, cute, sweet, hates, understands, knows, naughty, etc. These are words that place an emotion or feeling or behavior and gives it a description. Remember, we're only recording what we see and hear. One of the statements I see most often and people get most often points off as is the precious, cute, wonderful, sweet child did blah, blah, blah. We know they're cute, sweet, and precious. We don't need you to tell us. Remember that you're only reporting what you see and hear. Describe the child and behavior fully without giving it a reason the child was angry. You want to just say, the child cried, the child ran, the child fell on the ground, the child lay on the ground. Don't assume why the behavior is happening because you can't crawl inside the child's head to see it. Use enough detail when you're writing these to allow the reader to see what you saw. Descriptions should be unbiased and factual. If you ask yourself, how do I know this? And the answer is, it is exactly what I saw and heard, not my interpretation of what I think the behavior meant. Remember, you cannot see a child's thoughts and feelings. You cannot see a child deciding something. You cannot observe a child thinking. You cannot know what a child is feeling. Make sure you avoid labeling the children. That's it. I hope you have fun with your observations. I'm sorry we can't see children in real life, but it'll be all right. We'll get through this. Make sure you ask me any questions.